Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast. But he's got some wobble going on over there. Mic.
You know, like last minute, I was like, I'll take this mic apart and tighten it up, and because it was bothering me because it was loose, and now it's even looser. I got the washer on the wrong side of the bracket to hold it, so now not only wobbles here, I'm not going to wobble it because it makes sound, but it also wobbles here. So I made it worse.
See, and when Buddy says wobble, all I hear in my head is like what's going on at the WBHA convention. Because I've never heard that song until we went to convention. And there's this big song. Do you know it? Buddy doesn't hang out that late down there.
I think I know what you're talking about. That dance?
Yeah. So now I just think of WBHA every time I hear the word wobble.
That dance is pretty popular.
Did you do the wobble there, Jason?
No. Well, I probably did. I do not recall.
Didn't have enough ice in you?
Yeah. Those days are over, man. I used to be a whole lot of fun.
Buddy. Heath, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little sore, but I'm good.
Yeah, you just got back from Canada. I was going to listen to your podcast, but I haven't gotten time, so I don't know. Did you tell all your stories on your podcast?
Well,
not I told on one.
Do what?
I said not on one. He's got to stretch it out a little bit.
Well, Maddie got mad at me because on Friday, so this was the last day we were there, Friday. No baits were hit. We checked everything, and we went to this one place we hadn't been. And there was a good bear there a couple of days ago, but we were already running another bear, so just didn't get to. Anyways, so you had to go down this little point into a little flat where it was flat, and then there was some water on the right side. Well, she's like, "Did you tell him your tumble story?" And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Well, that was the funniest part of the whole trip." And I said, "Maddie, I'm still hurting from that tumble." So I started over this point, and my foot got caught between a log that had blown down, and a little log, not a big, like a 6-inch log, and a rock. And when I went to step up, it twisted my leg. And I literally head over heels, rolling down the hill. Like it popped. When my leg popped out of there, it popped. And I'm like, oh Lord. So I laid there for a minute. Everybody run down there like, you okay? You okay? And I'm like, yeah, let me just make sure it's not broke. And anyway, I get up, and it's hurting. And she thought that was the funniest thing in the world, and I just didn't think it was funny.
Because she's not over the age of 30.
And I'm still hurting from it. And we're like three weeks past it, and I'm still hurt. It swelled up, and turned blue and purple, when you sprain your ankle. But it is what it is. But I did not tell that story, and she thought it was hilarious, and she was mad because I didn't tell her.
We had
now you told it.
My son and his friend went up bear hunting in Canada. We'll talk about that too. But it wasn't me, thankfully, so I can laugh about it. But we had quads on the back of our flat decks, right, our flatbeds. Anyways, we had a bear kill that we were going to unload quads to go get him. And my truck's set up with the snowmobile ramp built in the bed, so you slide it out, and it's got it's aluminum ramp, so it's got these squares. Well, we're on the top of this. I got one of Stuart's quads loaded on my truck, and Andrew's back there. We set the ramp up. Well, Andrew comes. We unstrap the quad, and he comes off, and his leg goes in between the squares and the ramp. Ooh. And it just face plants it, right? So I'm in the front of the quad, unhooking the winch and the straps on the front, and my son Bradley's on the quad, and he's got it running, ring, ring, trying to get it in reverse. You know what I mean? Trying to back it up. Well, none of us realized that Andrew was face down on the ramp. You know what I mean? With his legs stuck in there, and he's squealing and yelling at us. We were all focused on the quad. Luckily,
over the rev limiter.
There was some little button. Yeah, you can't hear him.
He's
freaking out trying to get his leg. So Stuart comes over and he doesn't see Andrew on the ramp, and he's like, "Yeah, push that little blue button." And Andrew's hearing us talk about it. He's like, "No, don't push the blue button."
Like a horror movie.
Anyways,
man.
he gets his foot out. He rolls off. He doesn't get run over, but his leg was all bruised. So a similar story. He face planted it, and it'd been a little funnier if we run him over the quad. Not for him, but
this is a minor, right? Like,
This is the podcast of mishaps.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Yeah. We all got
we're getting
stories.
there. Oh, we're getting to a good one. I'm going to title this the Bear Spray Podcast. Maybe we can get some attention.
Yeah. You know, after, was it been 2 weeks? No, a week and a half. It doesn't feel like that happened. Like it almost.
I'd block that out too.
You kind of let that go away. Yeah.
45 minutes, it's over, buddy. It's over. 45 minutes.
A little bit longer than that for me, but just because I used water. Apparently you don't use water right away with bear spray. Milk. When you get sprayed with bear spray.
Milk, bro.
Oh, milk?
Yeah, like raw milk. Am I
I'm
right,
gonna ask
Heath?
Heath, because Heath, you've been pepper sprayed a couple times, right?
What is it?
You've been pepper sprayed a couple times for your job.
Yeah, I volunteered for it, and I'm not really sure why, but I've been sprayed 3 times on purpose, and then I probably can't count on one hand how many times we've been in altercations where it's been deployed.
Right.
You just suck it up, buttercup, and deal with it while you're doing it. I'll tell you a quick one. So I got in a pursuit one night, and the guy went down a dead-end road, and when he got down a dead-end road, I guess he didn't know where he was at. So he runs a car over against a fence, bails out and runs. So I take off after him, jump a fence. We get down in the middle of this cow field, and I mean, we're going like it's a big dude. Like I was really surprised how stout he was. So I'm down there fighting him, like literally, like I'm taking him down, but I can't hold him there. And come to find out,
right.
he was jacked up on cocaine. Let's just put that out there. So I get him down. I'm holding him on the ground. He's pushing me up. I'm breaking him back down. So I go to get on my radio, and I'm hollering like, "Hey, I'm about 100 yards down the cow field. Give me some help down here."
Right.
I mean, I'm on the radio, and I mean, we're going at it. And I did wrestle in high school, so you know how to not exert yourself. So, like, I'm just letting him wear himself out. And I mean, I'm breaking him down, and he's trying to get up, and I keep breaking him down. Well, I mean, it seemed like an eternity, but it was probably only a couple minutes. So, Brad, my partner, I hear him holler, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm down here." So he comes running down there, and he reaches down and starts spraying the dude, but he's spraying me. And I'm like wrapped up. I mean, I'm like a spider monkey on this dude. I mean, I'm like, I got him wrapped up like a tick. Like, there's not a part of my body that's not touching his. And he's spraying me, and I'm like, "No, stop! You're getting me." Well, anyway, he ended up getting the guy. So that was the worst during a deployment that I've had it. Like, he literally got me, but we were both on the ground, and he was shooting, trying to shoot the guy in the face, and he was getting me in the face.
Oh.
It's like a fog, man. It goes everywhere.
Yes,
right?
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so the ingredient comes out of a chili pepper, which is the oleoresin capsicum is what it is.
Right.
And that's what causes all the burning, and it gets red on your eyelids and your nostrils and everything. And if you do wash it off your forehead, it just runs right down into your eyes, and that's probably what happened to you.
So I was.
Let's back this up.
Part of one of the training. So like, yeah, like
Why?
I had one of them. Why?
Yeah,
Why
well,
would-
let's
yeah.
explain why Buddy got sprayed with bear spray. Like, I mean, set it up for us.
So
The best you
and you done
can.
it.
why am I carrying bear spray? But the first question I had. So there's this training program that we had, and in the meeting, they were like, they wanted a non-lethal deterrent that we wanted to carry. And so the two options were an air horn on a cougar call. I'd be like, yeah, boop, boop, air horn them. You know what I mean? Like, boop, boop, get away, cougar, boop. And I thought, well, bear spray. So for me in the meeting, I was like, this is not an issue. I don't worry. I don't need this. But if that makes people in the meeting, in the room feel better, I was like, we can sacrifice this decision, right? There's sometimes there's things you die on a hill for, and there's others. It's like, dude, if you want me to carry an air horn to go out in the woods and train my dogs, because I can't, like, whatever, I'll check a couple boxes. Well, I figured the bear spray one was like, whatever, that at least makes you look a little more like
Tough.
rugged, manly. Yeah, like
Manly.
no.
You
Yeah,
should see what a 44 mag does.
Well, you can't carry a lethal method. You got to have non-lethal. So I was like, I ordered one of them First Light little things that fits on your bino harness. You know what I mean? I
Yep.
figured the worst thing is I'm going to look like some little yuppie in the woods, which no offense to people in grizzly country, right? I mean, there's a reason for it, but I was like, whatever.
That's
Like I
legit.
put it on there and it's on my kit and it's always with me. So I had it there. It didn't bother me. It was not like I pulled it out and whatever. But the problem is I ended up losing that little plastic clip that goes between the trigger and the housing. It's
The
like a safety.
Yep.
And yeah, like on a gun, I would have never. That was the problem. Probably was I didn't treat that bear spray canister with the respect it deserved. Right, I didn't treat it like a
Yep.
gun. If I have a gun on me, I never chamber. I never chamber around on me for the most part. You probably, Keith, I imagine you do, right? You probably carry chambered or no?
Me?
Or do you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't
Look
chamber.
at his face right now.
terms of
I always,
I'm a cop, bro.
Ready for battle. It's ready for battle.
I consider. So I was thinking about this. I was like, there's oh shit and aw shit, right? So I'm a aw shit kind of guy. Like, I got time like aw shit. You know what I mean? I got enough time to chamber one. You're probably used to the oh shit. Like, oh shit, we got to get one now.
Yeah.
It's too late. If it comes out of your mouth, it's already too late.
Right. So in my situation, I'm like, I got the oh shit. Here we go. You know what I mean? Like there's some kind of clue that some shit's about to happen, and I probably ought to prepare myself. And so I'm in that mindset that if I got oh shit, it's too late. I'm wrestling
Die.
the bear or whatever it is. Well, anyways, the bear spray, same thing. I didn't treat it like I should have, and so I just had that thing on there, and I was like, oh yeah, I lost the trigger. I'll just be careful. Well, I got out of the call. I was with the dogs, and I was adjusting that thing was kind of sliding out of that little pouch in my chest. And so I was just kind of shoving it back in the holster, right? And I had a, oh shit. You know what I mean? It was like a little pump. I pumped that trigger, and it shot that stream right up next to my face, right? And there was an officer there, and it was all like, oh shit, and at the time, I mean, it didn't happen right away. I was like, he's like, I think you got yourself. And I'm like, no, I don't think I did. No, I don't think I did. And then a few seconds later, I was like, yeah, maybe I got myself a little bit. You know what I mean? And
Did you feel the recoil when it went off?
Open my eyes. No, it was just like a little. Psst, psst.
Oh,
I mean,
those things got some power.
I didn't take it in the face like I could have. It could have been worse. It was just the draft. The wind just drafted right into me, and I'm sitting there, and he's like, because we had a cougar call, so he's like, and this is first thing in the morning, like 6:30 in the morning, and the officer's like, "Oh, just go clean up, and we got time. He'll go clean up." And so I go into my back of my truck, and I got a water thing. For dogs, for heat and water bowl. So I take that gallon jug of water and I start washing my face and I'm going to wash it off. And it just got worse. Like putting water in. And about that time he goes, oh yeah, I probably wouldn't put water on it first. You know what I mean? He's like, that's not going to help. anyways, I went to the point where he's like, yeah, well, you just go home and wash up real quick, and then we'll come back here and we can, work on this cougar. And I'm like, bro, I can't drive. Like, I can't, I can't see. Like, there's nothing I got. Like, I'm like, I am losing ground fast. Like, I can't, my nose is starting to run. I can't open my eyes. And so anyways, one of the officers gives me a ride home, and I, walk into the house with my wife, and she's like, what's happened? I'm like, she thought it was allergies. I'm like, yeah, it's a little worse than allergies. And anyways, they told me, luckily I had a couple cops there that had been sprayed, but they said the best thing you can do is to soap up first and then water second. And so I just like to share to people. The soap grabs it and then the water washes it out. If you do the water first, it just kind of like disperses it. But I was just shoving Dawn dish soap in my eyes like as fast as I could, just shoving Dawn dish soap in my eyes, scrubbing my face, scrubbing everything I could, shoving it up my nose. And it worked. I mean, it totally at least made me
not miserable.
Not miserable. And then the next shower, it kind of came back a little bit. Not bad, but
yeah.
That stuff's no joke.
That could have been that could have been a really bad deal in the woods for me. Like, I'm probably a baby. I mean,
you got to learn to fight through it. Man, you got to fight through it. They spray us. We have to run a half of an obstacle course. We have to fight we call it a bob, which is a dummy. You have to fight a dummy. Then you have to take somebody into custody, handcuff them, escort them to your car. And
how do you open your eyes? That's what I couldn't do. Like, I was like, I can't open my eyes.
I got squinty eyes anyway. I wouldn't be able to see.
It's from squinting. Like, I can't see.
Yeah.
Holy hell. Yeah.
That stuff's no joke, though. Like, if it didn't, kick off, have you ever shot one, buddy? Like a tester to feel how that can kicks back?
What can?
The bear spray can.
I don't know what you mean. Like, I watched it happen slow motion right in front of my face. But
right, but I mean,
yeah,
the
but
ones that I've used.
I mean, I would be carrying.
Oh, go ahead, Heath.
Are you carrying fire extinguisher size ones, or are you carrying the little ones?
The big one. It was like a big old, the best bear spray canister I could find on the internet. Like Montana grizzly bear. Mm-hmm. I think they come out. Like, I'm going with the air horn next time. Like, that's what I'm carrying next time. It'll be a little air horn. The smallest little weenie air horn I can find.
We bought ours when we went to Montana elk hunting, because we were in grizz country. That is, I will tell you, guys hunting grizz country, that is a whole different level of you better bring your big boy pants because it is a little spooky. Like, those things are massive. But when they said, test it. So you aim low, and when you fully discharge that thing, it recoiled 6-8 inches. Just the force of it coming up at what it blasted out, 30, 40 feet, whatever it is. And we got hit with a blowback on it. Yeah, I mean, it blast out of there like crazy on those big ones. Or maybe I had a fluke. I've only tried it one time, and I caught the oversprayer too. And I'm like, no, put that away and know that. I don't want to die peppered with a grizzly bear.
Well, there's two things I would have wished. If that would have happened to me out in the woods by myself, which was a real possibility when I was thinking, it would have been miserable for me to try to figure out how to recover myself to get home. You know what I mean? Because it maybe would have dissipated after an hour or something. I would have just contemplated life for an hour in the woods. But yeah, I probably should carry around some Dawn dish soap or something like that, or some kind of. They say baby.
The buddy wipes.
Powder.
The buddy wipes. Or yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that a joke or is that a real product?
Yeah. no, they're a product. I don't have.
I should endorse them.
But
you should. They need to sponsor Bear Spray Buddy over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you ever get sprayed with bear spray, soap, you can try Buddy wipes, and they said baby shampoo or something. It's not scented.
No more tears.
And the recommendation, which I can attest, was put the soap on first. Like that, when I watered, I mean, it did nothing. Like shoving water in my eyes just made it or I couldn't open my eyes at all. But if I shoved soap in my eyes and then I hosed it down with my sink, and almost within 5 minutes, I was at least a functioning individual again. Not
Now,
whining.
see, they had like a big cattle trough, and they had it full of water, and you just went over and you just stuck your head in it and held your breath as long as you could. And then when you come up, you try to open your eyes, and if you couldn't open your eyes, you go back for seconds. But yes, the baby shampoo works good. But I think, and I tell people this all the time, they think I'm crazy. I almost would rather be pepper sprayed than tased. The tasing sucks. Like, it
Really?
sucks. Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. It's
Like,
like a harpoon.
yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, when they hit you with it, you can't do anything. You Superman, right on the ground.
We were watching. I had
Like he stepped on a log.
I think I talked about this a long time ago. I went to CHC, California, for Houndsman banquet with my son, and this was 5-6 years ago. So Bradley had to be like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And we were out in front of a hotel, and there was a guy. So I smoked at the time, so I was outside smoking a cigarette, and I had my son there. Great role model, right? Anyways, there's a bunch of cops there.
He was 10 feet
So
away.
I'm
Don't
over there
worry.
smoking. Yeah, and we were watching the kids, and there's my son right there, and the cops are like, "Get on the ground, and told him, we're going to tase you, get on the ground, and like 5-6 times. I mean, they warned him adamantly. I'm vouching for these cops. They told him what they were going to do, and the guy kept fighting, and then suddenly they back off. They go, okay, tase, and so they back off, and they tase him, and that guy face plants it face first into the concrete curb. I mean, just like
Instant.
like a
Whop.
like a freaking piece of wood.
Sack
You know
of
what I mean? It was a
potatoes.
dunk. And it was like, ooh, and my son probably to this day remembers that. You know what I mean? Anyways, I was like, son, that's why when they tell you to get on the ground, I just get on the ground, because they're going to get you there one way or the other.
Yeah.
Those cops came back and they found our room. They must have went to the front desk, and they come and got the little sticker and was like, hey, I'm sorry your son had to see that. I was like, nah, that was really good life lessons for him.
Life lessons, man. That's what we call them around here.
We don't see that kind of stuff where we come from. You know what I mean? Most of the time we listen to the cops. So I said, that was a really good lesson for him. If a cop tells you to get on the ground, you might just want to get on the ground. But
You might find out.
he face planted it like bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing about the difference in a pepper spray and a taser is you have no control with a taser. At least with pepper spray, I can still function. You can't do it with a taser. Like, it's for 5 seconds, you ride the lightning. That's all there is to it.
It's just, but you're solely conscious the whole thing. You just can't move anything.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks being like
Paralyzes.
I said, what's going on, but it is what it is. Just ride it.
It's like an electric roofie, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that was our pepper spray moment.
PSA, don't bear spray yourself.
Bear spray. Yeah. I'm never carrying pepper spray on my chest rig again. I can tell you that right now. I'm going to go with the shit moment that I got time to get it off my belt loop or wherever, and there's enough time for me to chamber around. If I have it that close, I don't want it there. And if I do have to ever carry pepper spray, I'm going to tape that lock on so that I don't lose the trigger lock. It's just like jacking around in the pistol.
You got time.
I'm like, if I don't got time to unwrap that tape, I probably am going to be eating anyways.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
Well, so did they have grizz up where you were bear hunting with Bradley? Or is that all black bear up in there?
Yeah, they did. We didn't see one. We might have seen one on the way back. We were up in BC. There's definitely some grizz around. Like, they knew of some places they had a couple that were sighting and seeing. I didn't see a bear on the way out. Andrew was riding with me, and he seen a big brown one that he said was huge. And I know that a couple of years ago there was a grizzly sighting right there in that area that we were driving through. So I don't know if it was one or not, but it was in an area that they were talking about last year, I think during our lynx hunt or whatever, that it was like, oh yeah, there was a good sighting about that lake or whatever. So we were driving by that, and I half wanted to go back and look and just see if it was, but
they're crazy big.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got to cover two topics. One is we got to cover this LTE collar that Garmin just announced.
Yep.
It'll be, by the time this podcast releases, it'll be yesterday, but it's all social media's got it going off right now, and we haven't pushed it because I don't think it's going to be like a huge product for us, our customers, but I did want to talk a little bit about it and kind of explain what it is. I do got some, experience with it. I don't want to oversell it that it's like, oh, it's the next thing that everybody's got to go buy, because I think it's not going to be for our core customers. I just don't think are going to see the value in it.
Right.
Heath, you heard a little bit about it, I'm sure, on today's
Yeah, I mean, I've been
reading
about it on Facebook, and like for me, I mean, there's places that I hunt. I have no cell service, and when Bryce come up and hunt with me the first time, he was asking me about that. What's the Dog Trip Pathfinder?
Yeah,
and I just told him, I was like, Bryce, I don't have cell service. Like, that stuff's kind of not going to work for me. So when I read
the Pathfinder doesn't use cell service though. The Pathfinder uses the same radio frequency that Garmin uses.
But you'll have to preload your maps before you go if you don't have, kind of like your own X, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You would have to do that. You'd have to download maps for your area.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know that, like on X only gives me either a 5-mile or a 10-mile option. And depending on how it's laid out, I may be out of that option.
Yeah.
Depending on what the bear do. So I just never, that's not something that has interested me. Now, would I like to I see a lot of people put the telemetry on the side of their GPS collars where you have the double. That interests me. But yeah, if it's going to have to work off cell service, most of you big game hunters are probably not going to be able to use it.
Yeah. And the problem with those telemetry collars is a lot of them put off dirty signals. When I say, that's all old technology that they're using, RC, resistor capacitor kind of circuitry. And all they're doing is putting out a little 1K kilohertz, which is a sound, right? So that it's so we can hear it when we tune into it. So it's a 1K or right around there beep, which is, 1K is that sound of like a doop, but they do it in a short burst. So it's like doot, doot. That's why you hear that little beep on those telemetries. And I always tell people, I said, I'm not saying it won't work. I'm not saying it will work. I'm saying you're basically putting a loud signal right next to a really fine signal. So Garmin's signal is a digital signal. It's 2 milliwatts or 2 watts, you know what I mean? And it's got to send data. So it's got actual information embedded into that signal. And so what you're kind of doing is you're having one system send this really finite sound, this finite signal with a lot of information in there about the battery life, what the dog's doing, is it treed, is it barking, which doesn't always work, but anyways, you know what I mean? Like, what's the location, what's the velocity? I mean, just a lot of little information in this signal, and then you got another signal. And I always joke, like, it's like your chunk brother to just yelling like, hey, I'm over here. And so it's like, hey, I want to hear that signal there because it tells me a lot more than just I'm over here. And so it doesn't always affect it, but it can cause that Garmin to not work. And that's one of the things that we'll when we're troubleshooting and they're like, oh, I can't get any GPS signal, whatever. And they're like, oh, I got this telemetry collar right next to it. And we're like, hey, take the telemetry collar off. And does it work? Yes. Okay, well, the problem is probably the telemetry collar. Yeah. So it's not bad. And I'm not telling people not to do that because there is no really good solution. Like that's the problem that a lot of a lot of people don't think beyond is what's happening is it's like, there's not a really super great solution to a backup.
So let's go. What is the purpose of this light? It's a backup to
The light? You mean the LTE? The LTE collar?
LTE, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So LTE is cellular. So when we say LTE, it's basically a cellular signaled collar. So my understanding is this product was developed more for overseas hunting, like Finland, some of these places who had these LTE based tracking systems. I forget what it is.
Tracker.
Hunt Smart, Hunt. There's some type of hunt. No, there's a company that they took over. Garmin bought them. They were a company over in Finland, somewhere that had a cell phone based tracker. And those guys over there used one dog. They had really good cellular coverage because their cellular coverage is better. And they would have 5 guys hunting that one dog. And they're trying to get in front and shoot the stag or whatever it is, a deer generally. And this is their system that they built. So they built this system. It did GPS. It talked to the satellite to basically go to the internet. So this collar could upload its data to the internet. And then these 5 hunters or 10 hunters or however many hunters they are could all get on their app and see where the dog versus where the deer was. And they could all try to get in front of the deer and shoot it or whatever it was, But I think they're allowed one dog in those situations. And there's just a bunch of rules on that type of hunting. And so again, I don't want to, I'm going off of memory and what I've learned and what I've seen. But I believe Garmin purchased that company, and this is the collar that they rebranded, and they launched this months ago over there, wherever it was. Because I remember seeing this on one of our pages. Somebody posted the picture of it. Go, what's about this? And I was like, yeah, that's overseas. But that was the first ones that came out. They launched overseas and took care of that market, which was already they were already using this collar, but it just wasn't called a Garmin. It was kind of like the DeLorme, So it was already in use under this different company name. Garmin acquired that company and is bringing that technology out. And so this is the release of it to the US, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So little history there. It was not, so with that said, it wasn't designed for the U.S. big game market. They didn't come out and go, this is the product for the big game market in the U.S., especially on the West, because we know we just don't have the cell phone coverage and service on there.
I don't have it in my house.
I would imagine they hope that this is going to be a big pet product for them. You know what I mean? I'm guessing they hope that people going for hikes in the woods that have service and whatever, it's actually a pretty low entry product. You just buy the collar, $300. You don't have to buy a $900 handheld. You know what I mean? And you take your dog and you can track your dog. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's intended for. And I think Garmin kind of looked at it and go, well, maybe hound guys would use it too in some situations, and I have some reservations. I don't think it's a product that I want to. I'm not going to use it. Like I've messed with it. But I got no desire to throw it on my dogs. You know what I mean? I got no desire to buy 6 of them and throw it on all my hounds for the off chance that somebody picks my hound up, take it to town, I could track them 30 miles away. There may be a benefit. I'm not going to say there's not ever a benefit. If somebody took my hound and took it into town and got out of service, I could easily see where there was. But I'm under the impression, again, that they're just going to kick that collar out the window if they want to steal my dog, and it ain't going to help me.
Because that's what my thought was, is it as a backup, even instead of the telemetry for exactly that situation. If the dog got took back into service, but like you said, if they're going to pull a collar, they're going to pull a collar.
Yeah, you could. So that's in a nutshell the history of where this came from. Heath is it wasn't. This isn't a U.S. based product. This is a product that was used somewhere else that Garmin's kind of incorporating into and I don't know if they call it an Astro Alpha. I don't even know if it's tied into that line. I don't know what is it called? I don't
think so.
I'm gonna look it up.
What's
But
that?
now it will not interfere with the Garmin's like the telemetry, right?
No,
because
no.
Garmin,
And we can talk about. Yeah, we can talk about how they pair up because they are doing kind of cool things. That I'll tell you, the one area that I'm not sure about is like a huge field trial in good cell phone service. You know what I mean? Like when you're running 300 dogs, I could see this not interfering because you're not fighting for that radio frequency.
Right.
It looks like it says introducing the all new Alpha the Garmin Alpha LTE. That's what it says.
So they're calling it an Alpha. Yeah, they're going to throw it in the dog line.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So with that said, there's we'll describe what it does, how it does it, but I don't want people thinking that I'm trying to just promote this because like I'm kind of. I'm sure Garmin wouldn't like that. Right? They're like, yes, we should sell more of them, but I just don't think it's going to be the big game market. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be some limitations on that. So,
and can we talk a little bit before you dive into it too far, buddy? Because I know some people will hear this.
Yeah.
As far as servicing these collars, warranty repairs, things like that, this is not like this is apples and oranges to the Alpha tracking stuff that we're all used to and what we deal with for our customers. This is something that if you have problems, like we're happy to sell it to you, but be aware, like repairs, tech support, things like that, we just don't have the means to access everything that's involved in the process of making this work. You're going to have to go straight to Garmin. Am I wrong, buddy?
Yeah, we're going to have a really difficult time supporting this product after the sale. Like there's some limitations that we're not going to be able to handle. Like basically, Heath, if you bought one of these and it doesn't work, I don't have the ability to be like, well, did you turn it off and turn it back on? You know what I mean? Like that's like, you know what I mean? Like if your cell phone stops working, you know what I mean? And your cell phone's not calling, you need somebody that can get in deep enough to talk to the cellular towers and stuff like that. We're not going to have that kind of capability. You know what I mean? We're not going to have that insight. We're basically a turn it on and go use it kind of product on this. So, and we'll talk about, phones and some complications, but let's just talk about the product for a second. Let's try to sell it to the couple people who may want to buy it. It's just not our customers for the most part, but I could see somebody who's in town a lot, wants a cheap version. If they're always hunting in cellular service, $300, this thing's probably going to do good as long as cell phones are around. But it uses cell phones and the internet to transfer the data back and forth. So you're not in direct communication with the caller. You're going through the internet to communicate with the caller. So your cell phone needs to be an internet service. You got to have good data to be able to download the information from the caller. And the caller also needs to be in good internet service, cellular internet service, to be able to upload its data of where it's going and where it's at. So does that make sense? Number one is if you don't have cellular service, both on the collar and the handheld, the phone, not the Alpha. We can talk about the Alpha in a minute because there is a link to there that we can tie it to. But your cellular phone with the data or the app, the Garmin app running, both of those got to have internet. Otherwise, it doesn't link up. If let's say the dog goes out of service, it goes down a draw and it goes out of service, and then it comes back up the next hill and it gains service, it's going to download all that track. That is one of the cool things about it, is it keeps a log of where it's been. So let's just pretend that the dog runs down into this drainage with no cellular service and runs a couple figure eights, right? Yeah. And then it runs up out of that service, okay? While it's down there running figure eights, you're not going to know where your dog is. You know what I mean? It's out of cellular service. You're not going to know where that dog is. But when it comes back out of that drainage, it's going to upload all of that data where it was. So you'll see those figure eights down there. You know what I mean? You'll see what that dog did while it was out of service. Yeah, it's not, whereas what we know now is straight line. You don't know what happened between those two lines when you lose signal. That's a decent figure. I don't want to get too much into old stuff, but one of my complaints was it was showing too much of that. So every time I turn my app on, it just this is the issue. One of the big things about this is Garmin needs to fix some of their apps, right? If you ever used their apps, I don't know, Heath, do you use their app much? The Garmin Alpha Dog app?
I use the Garmin Explorer a lot. I mean, I've got it downloaded on my iPad. I've got it downloaded on my phone.
How do you like it?
I mean, it's good, but it does get, if you don't erase your dog tracks or you have it set,
cluttering.
It gets very close, especially if you're running in the same block. Yeah. Like when I'm in North Carolina, if we're running in the same block, I've got to set my tracks like on 5 minutes and probably erase them after 30 because it'll get cluttered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's my, and I've been saying this to Garmin for years. I've been like, your apps are just not very user friendly. Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't put the effort into the app to make it user friendly. I mean, it's just lacking that finesse of when you turn it on, is it easy? It's whatever. It's because they think you want to see everything. And when you got 10 dogs or even 5 dogs and you hunt as much as some of us do, when you turn it on, it's like, holy cow, it's downloading data for days, for hours, or at least tens of minutes. You know what I mean? Like 20, 30 minutes, it seems like it's downloading all this data. And it's like, I don't care where my dog was 2 weeks ago. I really don't. Like, get rid of that data. But their system is like so data intensive that they want to download all of this data that's not pertinent. And then it clutters your screen and it makes it, for me, it makes me just turn the app off and walk away. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't have time to deal with this. You might be more patient than I am, Heath, and you figure it out. I've just walked away from the app. I try to do it every time, and it doesn't go easy. It's always cluttered. It's not helpful. I end up walking away from the app and frustrated after 10 minutes or 15 minutes of trying to use their app. So I'm a little jaded that this is on the app side, and I wish they would have really understood the need for a real solid app that is easy to use, easy to downstream, so you get the data we need and not filled in with clutter that we don't need. So that's probably my biggest. If I had perfect cellular service and it was me having to use this product, that would be my biggest con. Even with service, I'd be like, their app needs, and I'm going to tell you again, they need to work on this app. And at the point where I'm like, Garmin, can you just go buy OnX and take over OnX and let them go?
That's the clutter from the last day in Canada.
Yeah. Right. And it just makes it, you're showing us your phone, which is just a clutter of soup and pictures. And
it's like the Portland interchange.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you got to spend time to clean that up before you can even start using it to be useful. And again, this is not something new. This is something that's been this way for years. That
through several apps.
They've been this Explorer app and now the Alpha app, and you know what I mean? Like the promise is, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Well, here we are 2 years, 3 years later, and we're not seeing anything better. So I'm just not, like I said, that's my bitching on the app. Now, while I'm on the topic of the app, okay, and this is why W can't support this product, like after the sell, right, is because, Heath, what phone do you carry?
It's an iPhone 14 Pro.
14 Pro. Do you know what software version you're running on that 14 Pro? What your iPhone software is?
Nope.
No, you don't. Okay. Well,
Nope.
So, Jason, what phone are you running?
A cellular one. It's an iPhone of some kind.
Okay, so-
I have no idea. Like, nothing.
You don't even know what phone you have. Okay. What about your second phone? Because you got
Doesn't
one
say
for
it on
the other
it.
one. What phone?
Yeah, that's
Okay, so
another
you got
iPhone
two
too.
phones?
I got two iPhones of different
Okay, and-
models.
And Heath, you got an iPad?
Yep.
Which version iPad you got?
It's the iPad Pro, the new
What year? What year?
Gen 7.
A Gen 7. Yeah, you know more than
It's,
most.
it's brand new. Like brand
Okay,
new.
that's the only
He's
reason
a
why you know what
high-tech
Gen it is?
redneck.
Exactly right.
Just bought it.
Okay.
You know, that's funny. Let me tell you, Jason. Do you know what my CV handle used to be?
What?
High tech. It is technology, even though I didn't know how to
You got-
use it.
Yeah, as long as you know how to use
So-
it.
Oh, that's funny.
So here's my logic, and this is the part where I look at it and go, we from W cannot manage the problems that could arise out of this. So if this doesn't work, okay, Heath, and let's just say the collar doesn't show up on your app right. So maybe it shows the dog in the wrong spot. Okay. I got so many variables of what phone. Some people got Samsung phones. Some people got Android phones. There's different, how many different phone manufacturers are there out there? How many different software versions are there out there? What app version do you have? Do you got the latest app downloaded?
Yeah.
Just in the cellular phone side of the deal, there's so many things that could be not working. If you went out and bought an iPhone 16, came out tomorrow, right? And you're like, oh, I'll go buy the latest, greatest. If Garmin doesn't have this app updated for the iPhone 16, you might have to wait a month, 2 months for them to regen their app to figure out why it doesn't work on that new. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying the potential when you call me and it doesn't work, there's so many potential pitfalls that I have zero control over, and I can't even comprehend to try to download for you that I just look at that and go, man, we can't do this. If the problem's in the collar and the collar between the collar and the cell phone tower, we can't call Verizon and be like, hey man, are you getting this XYZ signal and what, you know what I mean? Like, it's up to Garmin to kind of make their connections and their data and follow the computer code and the servers and track that to try to figure out what's going on. They have tools that we cannot see. And so for that reason, like, people got to understand this is a Garmin subscription style collar that's like when your phone goes bad, right? You can't just call me to fix your cell phone. You're going to have to call Verizon and be like, hey, when I call, I don't get any voice or whatever. And they're going to be like, oh, well, it's the phone. Or we got outages in this area or whatever. And so I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's a complication there that is really, really people don't think about. You know what I mean? Like, different phones, different apps, different versions, the software to build an Android app versus to build an iPhone app versus to build a computer. Because we were looking at building an app. It's different code. The Android code, so the Android phones use their own code, and there's different versions and old versions of Android, and how old is that phone gonna make, and boy, the specs on that, and somebody has a really old phone and they get this and it doesn't work, and they're gonna call Garmin and be like, well, we don't support that phone, or what, you know what I mean? Like, I just see so many pitfalls of things that could potentially be problems that I want to be really clear with customers when they buy from me that there's a lot to make this thing work.
It's just we don't have the keys to the toolbox. Like,
Yeah.
There's nothing we're going to be able to do. And I want to be clear because we get a lot of calls for support.
Yeah, right. I don't want the keys to this toolbox.
No, you can keep them. We'd lose them if we could.
Yeah.
But it's a subscription base, right? It's like $50.
Yeah,
Is it
$50 a year.
A year. And is that per caller or is that per account?
Per caller.
Okay.
So every caller. So we talked. So again, that's pretty much the major pitfalls that I see. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'll get a call from whoever being like, man, you're really hard on. Like, I want to be clear with that guys that are really relying on this and expecting it to be flawless, it could be. I'm not saying it won't be. I'm just saying when you run into problems, there are things that can happen if you're putting all your eggs in this basket, and you're going to see people complain about it every time there's something new. There's plenty of people. We're getting hammered about 25s right now, and you see the post. Everybody's the new stuff, whatever, and it's like, man, there's times where I'll come to bat for Garmin. This is one of those situations where it's a complicated product, and I don't want my name in the troubleshooting side of things on this collar. I don't want to deal with the troubleshooting of it. So one of the cool things is if you did want unlimited tracking distance, now that we're going to sell it, all right, let me try and talk you into buying it now. So you can pair this, and I got one here, right? Wherever my thing is, right here. Okay. Everybody's seen it online. So you can pair this. When you put it on there, you put your collar, your TT25 collar, into pairing mode, and you put this into pairing mode, and they talk to your collar. So your TT25 collar talks to it, and so it pairs it, and so it knows that this LTE is on the same dog as the TT25. And so then if you're hunting and your dog goes out a service, so let's just say your dog goes 10 miles, right? And you can't get to it, but it still has cellular service, and your phone has cellular service. If your handheld, your 320 or 300, is paired to your phone, it will show you and it will update on the Alpha 300 where that dog is, right? So it'll get the data from your phone and go, oh, I know it's 10 miles over there. So even though I can't get the signal from the VHF, from the 25 collar, I can now get it from the LTE collar, and so I'm going to give you the position of where the collar is. So you could still use your Alpha 300 and see your dog on your Alpha 300. You do need the cell phone. You know what I mean? You do got to have that Bluetooth because your cell phone gets it from the internet. But your cell phone can get it from the internet and can give it to your 300, your Alpha 300, to show the location. And it pairs it and makes it treat like one collar, so it can work together. Does that make sense?
So like for a backup, like we were saying, that's pretty handy, really.
Yeah, and I was just sitting here thinking about some of the dogs that's been stolen, and we know that they take the collars off. Can you go ahead and put the Garmin you just showed me on your regular collar?
Yeah,
right.
And have it separate? That may throw some people off. That may be a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. You might very well. Like there's different things like that you can do, and this would ride on a second collar pretty good. Mm-hmm. You'd have to take it off and charge it a little bit more than a 25. I don't have the specs of the battery because I haven't used it like a hunting collar, right? Because it's not a hunting collar for me. So it's not a collar that I would use for hunting. I have run it on Sadie in the yard. I've played with it, taken her on walks. You know what I mean? Like I've used it. It's just not conductive to use in a hunting situation for me. Mm-hmm. So I haven't tested things like battery life and, honestly, even major distances or anything. I mean, there's I haven't run that over there.
So, sorry, buddy, I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple pictures and they've had it on the side or the top. Does it have to be able to get signal out? So if let's say that it's riding on the bottom on a normal collar, does that matter? And does it meet all the specs as far as being waterproof and like shock resistant, like the other collars are to a certain extent?
Yeah. So it definitely, so two questions there. waterproof, all that good stuff. Yes, no problem on that. It can ride on the bottom of the dog's neck. It does get better signal on top of the dog's neck, okay, because it still's got to talk to those satellites to get the satellite signal. Garmin's done a pretty darn good job of getting signal from underneath the dog's neck. You know, back in the DC-40 days when it first came out, they had some issues, and they've learned a lot. So I don't want to say you can't use it on the bottom of a dog's neck, but I will say that there is a slight degradation of the GPS signal being on the bottom of the dog's neck than on the top of the dog's neck. Is it enough to make it not work? Whatever. In some situations, yes. In other situations, not going to make a difference at all. So, yeah, that is a thing, but I don't think it's a major thing. But there is some type of measurement that you could probably determine it works better on top of the dog's neck.
So for people who haven't seen it, it's a slide-on
another
unit.
big bonus. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to describe it.
I kind of wish.
Like an old DC-20 almost.
Yeah.
It's like a new version.
Yeah. Yep. I wish the slots were a little bit bigger if you're trying to put it on one of our collars. I got one of my collars that it kind of cut the strapping off because it was so tight. When I pulled it off, it was almost like a little knife and slid the inside of the thing on. Yeah, it shaved one of my collars because it was kind of tight and it had a little bit of an edge. So once it started, it just sliced it. So I wish they had a little more gap so that it fit on some of our thicker collars a little better. You know what I mean? Those really thin collars it works good on, but the thicker ones is really difficult to get on. That is a guy could probably, not easily, but it is the way it is. Like, I'm just going to say that's one of those things.
Don't modify it and void your factory warranty.
Yeah. It's going to be a bitch to get on a few of these collars that are thick. You know, some of these
the silver
quality collars that we've been running. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That silver's tight on everything.
Like reflective stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have made some more gap room on that, but yeah, that would be, I think, a big thing. I think would be good is interference. I don't think interference. So, I don't know the specs, and I can't tell you. Can you run 100 collars on one app? I haven't dug into all the details about the limitations on that, but I know you're using cellular and internet data, and so the idea that you would get interference or tracking other people's dogs would probably be non-existent. It's like, how often do I pick up my cell phone and get Heath Hyatt's cell phone on accident? You know what I mean? Like the cellular, the internet data, all that stuff's pretty fleshed out. You're not just accidentally picking up phone calls and getting other people. That's the same kind of mentality. Is this caller, this signal? Yeah, that's not even a thing. So it's not like you're sharing this channel, which the Alpha does. It's a whole separate, more secure communication.
So back to the $49.99 a year. Is that per unit, or can you run 10 dogs off of it?
Per unit. Every collar needs its own service, own cellular plan.
So you're paying like a cell bill for this collar.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you got to pay.
Okay.
This device has to talk to the internet. Mm-hmm. If you can't get its own internet service, it has no way to get the signal back to you.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not like, oh, yeah, just $150 and you can fit 10 dogs. If you got 10 dogs, you're $500 a month or a year, service for that. So for one dog, probably not a big deal. You know, for 6 dogs, I can't afford it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be doing it.
Why don't they just make one that runs off the Iridium? We don't need to tackle that. Just in my mind, like, you've got that technology for the inReach. Why are we going cellular based instead of? Of course, I guess they bought this. It's not like they developed it. You figure this out on an Iridium satellite, and we're all like pumped. I'll pay you whatever you want.
Yeah, I have my reservations about that too, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's people who are not happy with the MERS band. You know what I mean? Like, be careful what you wish for. Every time you push closer to the new technology, there's more shit that can go wrong. Like, the more complicated. Now you got a sat-based dog. I just encourage you to go get a sat phone and try to make calls in different locations that dogs will be in. You know what I mean? Like, I encourage you to go down into those holes, take your inReach with you, and try to send a text message out. So, and see how long it takes you to get that message to the satellite and working. Like, what you're asking for is really, and I seen it on Facebook before too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, everybody's into this Star Wars thing where it's like, yeah, we just be like Star Wars and shit. But take the devices you got now, walk down into the bottom of a canyon where you treat a bear, where you treat a bobcat, where you whatever. You know what I mean? Where it's in a log jam or whatever. Get down where that dog is, and take your inReach and try to send a message. And how long is it going to take you to get that message out? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? Now, you're going to have the hunter on top of that going, I don't know where my dog is. Well, the dog's doing what the dog should have been doing, right? The dog is down there, he treed the cat. We're relying on the technology to tell us where our dog is, and we're getting mad when the technology fails. So I'm not saying it's not right or wrong, but I'm saying at the core of things, when I look at it, I'm like, well, the dog is doing what the dog's supposed to do. Are we doing what we're supposed to do? You know what I mean? So when we talk about the satellite and we'll talk about Iridium and Starlink with Elon Musk and whatever, I'm like, that's easy to sit on a couch over internet, phone call where we got our coffee and we got everything in our hands and we got the internet and everything and we got cell phones that do this because we're in connections. And now you take that scenario and you go back to the bush where none of that exists and we're expecting technology to work like we're sitting on our couch. It's like, man, that is just a challenge that it's easy to talk about. But like I said, if you want to do that, go try it. Like, there's nothing that's stopping you right now, Jason. You got an inReach. Go.
Oh, yeah, I meant like for a backup, which is what I see this as. Like, this is a backup for me. If you would have said that this product was based off of that, I'd take my chances for sure. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Those old, even the 200 eyes, man, it was like 30, 40 minutes sometimes before I'd get a signal out, and then you're another 20 getting it back. Like, I wouldn't want to rely on that.
Yeah. So I just look at it and go, when I think about it 2 steps in, it's like, oh man, that's more problems that, I mean, and I'm sure I irritate people because, there's people that are mad at Garmin, well, they don't getting this done. And it's like, man, what Garmin is doing is technology challenging. It is really challenging to do what Garmin is trying to do. And sometimes they don't get the credit for how much they are doing and how complicated these devices are, so that when they fail, everybody's just expecting things to work perfectly. And it's not that easy. It really isn't. There's a lot going on that really do happen, and it's easy to just blame Garmin and be like, this doesn't work very good, and well, there's some truth to that. Like, there's technology, there's pieces in there, but there's also it's easier to sit back and be a Monday night quarterback, versus get on the ground and take the device and go and try and do it and make it do what you want it to do, and spend your time, effort, money to do it. It's like, I don't know. There's just a humbling experience in that, because I've dealt with a couple of smaller companies. Laylap's would be one of them that I got to see behind the scenes. I've got to work with the engineers. When they ask me questions, I have to think about it and go, okay, that's a legit point that these engineers ask me. And it's easy to be like, oh, I just wanted to do this. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, but what about in this situation when you're down in a hole and I can't get to that satellite or I can't get that signal? There's these things that happen. What do you want me to do then? And it's like, well, I just want it to be magic. I just want it to work. You know what I mean? So,
FM.
anyways, yeah. So it's tough. Like the more I see, I'll be honest, the more old school I try to get. I try to go back to, it's a bond between me and the dog, and I need to try to get within sound of that dog so I can hear my dog and let my dog tell me what the hell's going on and not the Garmin. And that's where I'm coming to it from. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but when I think about it, I'm like, I want my dog to tell me what's going on. I don't need the Garmin to tell me what it thinks my dog is doing,
Buddy, you're busting up my next podcast.
Spoiler alert.
I literally, that is what I talk about. Yeah, like I talk about, how technology has ruined some of the finer things with hound hunting. Yep. And listening to your dog, knowing what your dog's doing and not relying, sitting there on a screen like, oh, yeah, we did this and that. I'm not going to get too in-depth with it, but yes, you're busting my party up, man.
Well, call it a precursor. I'll just warm it up for you.
Promo. I was talking to a guy the other day. I said it's really hard because we get a lot of people complaining about the bark indicators, right? And trust me, I think it's a great tool when it works right. I love it, because in our country, if they crest a hill and they jump that thing 200 yards over the top, you don't know if they're going to circle around and come back or if you got an hour and a half drive around to the other side. So I like it in that aspect, but I said it's pretty sad that we've gotten to the point where we're relying on a Garmin to tell us the dog is barking when sometimes the person calling doesn't even know what the dog sounds like. Like, seriously, it's gotten to a point that there is a real disconnect to some of this, I think. So I'm with Buddy. Yeah. Like, I'm not ready to throw my Garmin in the glove box. That's crazy talk. But, it is nice to get back to not relying on all the bells and whistles.
I think everybody, I give a challenge, man. It should be like a Garmin challenge.
The glove box challenge.
To go hunting without. Yeah, put your stuff in the glove box and go hunting and see how long you can last without a Garmin. I don't think many people do it. I don't know that I could do it. I mean, I'll be honest. I'd have a hard time. I'm handicapped to it. I probably couldn't do that. I could probably with a safety net. I could be like, hey, somebody else track my dogs. I'm going to try this. But you watch the dogs just in case. You know what I mean? Like I could have somebody with me and I'm like, don't tell me. Then that's a way you could do it is make sure your buddies are tracking the dogs and be like, hey, I want to run without the handheld just to, see, let me make all the decisions or whatever. And I think a guy would learn a lot from that. You know what I mean? A lot of respect, number one. And number two, it'd force you to listen to the dog and really try to think about the terrain and what the dog is going through and why it sounds different, why it changes opinion there, what not, Yeah, I don't know.
Well, don't ruin Heath's
Who knows?
podcast.
I'm curious now. I'm going to have to listen to your podcast. When is that one going to come out, Heath?
Yeah,
is it already recorded or you?
Oh yeah, I've done dropped it. It's not this week. It's not this coming week. It's the week after. So
okay.
Heath's like awesome. He keeps them stacked up and ready, man.
It's hard. It's hard.
I know that's why we're recording on a Thursday for Friday.
But you're right, buddy. Like, my old dog, like when he was pulling, that dog from the time that he started pulling them out until he topped out, he barked 2 times, 3 times at the most. Mm-hmm. And you knew, like everybody's like, well, he's shutting up. Yeah, because he's running the catch. He got his mouth shut. Yeah. You can't breathe and bark at the same time.
Bingo.
But just knowing those things, I mean, it has taken so much away from the newer hunters that didn't grow up without telemetry. And then we had telemetry, and then, telemetry I mean, telemetry just basically helped you retrieve your dogs, if you think about it. And then, to Garmin's now, like, it's like, man, you have no clue. Like, you have no clue what's going on. Like,
you went from a recovery
what we got to
system
experience.
to a tracking system. Like, I feel like that was the big difference. You weren't out there all the time. You pulled that tracking box out when you couldn't hear your dog. Like that's when you used it. Until then, you were learning that dog. And I can't say how thankful
and my batteries were dead when I pulled it out. My colored batteries were already dead when I pulled it out.
I'm just thankful I got into it.
It didn't do me any good anyways because I pulled the thing out.
At that time, because I feel like the guys that did not experience the sheer joy of tracking a bounce for 3 or 4 hours, like it's just way different now. So everybody tune in to Heath's podcast.
I think it's good. I think those are things for people to think about. And like I said, it gets more difficult the more products that come in, you know what I mean? And so like the 25s are a good example right now. There's a lot of people who are just, and this never fails. Like I see people who grab the new collars and a lot of times guys gravitate towards the new stuff and they don't anticipate problems, right? So they get the new stuff, and I've seen this several times where I'm like, and I'm kind of cynical about it, but whatever, is I'm like, why are you getting the new stuff? If you're going to be the first guy that gets on there, gets the problems, and then tells people don't buy it, it's basically like, hey, don't do what I did. You know what I mean? Like some people want to have the newest stuff because they want to be in the know, but then they're miserable when they actually get out there and start trailblazing. It's like, well, yeah, when you're the first guy out in the woods, you got to cut all the trees out of the road. You got to do all the bushwhacking. You got to do all the trail clearing. You got to learn the way. You know what I mean? Like there's hard work with blazing the trail. It's a little bit easier for the third, fourth, and fifth truck to come through. That first truck, he's got to cut, you know what I mean? Like, so one of the things, like just even going out after a storm, you know what I mean? Like when you're the first truck out there, well, it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? But you go into it knowing you're going to have trees in the road. You got to cut them out. And it's the same kind of thing with these new products. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to get these new products, just realize there's going to be some trees in the road. You're going to have to cut trees out of the road if you want to be leading the way. If you don't, and I've been both ways where I'm like, I want to be the first. You know what I mean? Get my hard ass out there and cut some trees. Then there's other times I'm like, I'm going to let the young kids go first. Let me go let them cut it out. I'll take a day off and go hunt the next day. Yeah, there's two ways of doing it.
First,
and not, yeah, exactly. Let's just wait. And so I kind of liken it to the same with the products. I see some guys and I'm like, man, you shouldn't be you shouldn't be in the first group. Like I've told people, I've told friends, hey, I don't really want you having this new product. Give it a little bit of time. Like let's get a couple of the kinks out because I know you're going to call me on fire, pissed off at the world, and I've gotten to the point where I'm just expecting it. So I'm like, yep, it is what it is. Let me get this and I'll report it and we'll get it fixed, but it's going to take a little while. And you know what I mean? Like nothing happens at the fast pace. And so that's just kind of my mentality is sometimes you got to expect issues. And I think this product is going to be no different. I think it's really strong and super strong based in the app. And I am not impressed with Garmin's app making ability over the years. I would just say that's very weak. Garmin's getting better. I'm not going to say that they're not trying, but I can say over the last 5-6 years of watching their app development, whether it's through EarthMate, which was actually DeLorme, Explorer, the Alpha, the new ones, Garmin Messenger,
the K9.
Like every single Garmin app I have dealt with, I'm like, they never hit it out of the field, right? Like Garmin's not an app company, right? So I just look at it and go, this is not Garmin's strong suit. You know what I mean? They are not strong at building cell phone based apps. they're trying to, and they have the money to do a good job, but they're not. And so that's where I sit on it.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say. That, don't pepper spray yourself in the face.
Don't be a tough guy. I just want to know if you got to ride in the front of the cop car or the back.
Don't want to talk about it.
Raise your hand if you've ridden in the back of a cop car out of the three of us. You will all be surprised because I haven't yet.
I couldn't see. I couldn't tell you. I was like, my eyes closed. I was just braille. So you might open the back door. I don't know.
Heath gets to ride in the front every time.
If you see the disgusting stuff that gets in and out of the back of the car, you'd never want to be back there.
Oh, don't even go there, dude.
Yeah.
There's like Hakatua all over that. Gross.
That's right.
Dude.
And worse. I've got some great pictures I can send you guys.
Oh my God. I couldn't imagine.
Whatever. When that happened, I was up in Canada hunting, and we were hunting really hard.
But he comes out of the bush to the internet like, being broken.
What the hell is all this? What did I call it? I'm like, Huktoa. I'm like, because I seen some kind of like their Indian references and shit, and I didn't quite. I finally found out what it really was, but we were hunting so hard that I just seen this thing. I had a little bit of time to scroll, and I'm like, what is this deal? Like, it's like taking over the world. And I'm like, I'm gonna come back from Canada and not know what's going on. But apparently, yeah.
So hold on, before we
the world over.
Wrap this up. We do have to touch on your kid did kill a bear. Like, give Bradley some credit here. Dude, yeah, because you made him pass on, get this, Heath. How many bears did you see your trip?
I think we passed around 75 or so.
75 bears. Yeah, okay. So I'd probably be pretty pissed too. My finger would slip by about number 50. And by 50, that's give or take like 45.
Well, wait. So now I'm starting to really wonder about your judging ability.
Yeah,
if you had to go to 75 one.
That's what I said.
We need to send you some glasses or something.
That's what I'm like. Are we holding out for a 500 or like what? Yeah, what are we doing here?
I took my son and his friend bear hunting, and my friend's daughter. So 3 kids we took. Spot and stock. Stuart and them like to. Barry up there uses dogs, but for the most part, they like to spot them first so that we're not messing with small bears, even if we do run them with dogs, which is fine. The kids want to shoot, rifles and shit and stock, so spot and stock. So that's what we did. Well, anyways, my friend's son ended up shooting a dandy, like that
was a good one.
Basically a 7-foot bear, squared, and we green skulled it at 20 inches on the skull. So
that's
a good bear, right? One of them like once in a lifetime bears.
Yeah.
That set the bar.
Yeah, okay. That makes a little more sense.
Okay, game point, right? So, and that Monday, which was the first day of the hunt, me and Stuart and my son Bradley, we pull up to this landing and we look down. And there's a bear down there. So I stop. I get out. I get my glasses just to see this big. I mean, just a pig. 2 big bears. One was probably a sow, I'm guessing, and one just monster. When you looked at it, you just knew that's a big. He was big. And we watched him walk into the timber where we couldn't. I only got to see him like 20 seconds. Not enough for even my son to really get a good look at him, but just enough for me to get glass on him. And it was 350 yards, and I was like, boom! I was like, holy crap! That's a shooter. It was a bear that was worth hunting for. You know what I mean? Like, and so, anyways, long story short, we spent a couple days hunting for that bear. You know what I mean? Checking on that spot, trying to see if we could turn him up. And we just never seen a single bear on that road. So we spent a lot of time in that area looking for that one bear when there wasn't a lot of bear activity on that road. It was just like you just seen a monster in there. And
that's how he was big. There ain't nobody around him.
There was some sign earlier, but it just dried up. The sign dried up that week for whatever reason. And so we kept having to drive down this road, which took a long time to check this hole. You know, it was in the back of a road, at the very end of a road, and it was just a hole. It had a good little drainage and had some timber behind it, and you're just looking for any kind of clue that thing was still around. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, did it take off? You know, not run off, but you know, did the sow? It wasn't going to leave the sow, I don't think. But you know, I was like, man, where did that thing go? And so that was one of the problems. Is we seen a really big bear, and we wanted to kill that bear. So we were passing decent bears to try to shoot a nice one, if that makes sense.
What's decent up there?
6 foot or 6.5. Yeah, like we would have shot a 6.5, but
I don't even know
we
what
passed
that
a few
means.
6 foot.
You're talking like squared hide?
Yeah, squared. So you measure the length from the nose to the tail after you skin it, and then you measure from claw to claw or whatever. Yeah, and then you divide it by 2. So Heath, do you measure them like that or what?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, I must be an East Coast thing because we weigh ours.
Yeah,
we do ours by pound. So
you can get them out whole. We ain't getting them out whole over here.
Right. I mean, y'all do a lot more. Everybody out west mostly packs.
Yeah.
Packs out. So yeah, I mean, we mostly weigh ours.
I would say Colton's probably, if I had to guess, was 350, 400.
Yeah, I'd say 4. Yeah.
That was big bear. For
yeah,
sure.
I mean, and that's what we look at. Like, what people don't realize is the average bear is 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Across the country, 150 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start, you know, I tell everybody that hunts with me, you know, you start getting over 200, you've got a good bear. You get a 250, a 300,
sure.
You've got a really nice bear. You get 300, a 400, you got a whopper.
Yeah.
You know, and they're here. I mean, they're here. But, like, and, you know, you go down on the coast of Carolina and, man, them dudes are walking off and leaving 300 pounders. Like, you know, they want the 4s and the 5s.
Yeah.
But, you know, anything, a 200-pound bear or better is nice. You killed one to 300 to 400 pounds, and that's probably about right for the measurements you're saying. Of course, bear can be longer and shorter, and, you know, you get into all that stuff, but that's a good bear. And the pictures you sent me, I mean, that was a good bear.
That's what I thought. Yeah. It looks like a good one.
So that happened the first day. And, of course, me and Stuart were like, okay, we can do better than that. We can do better than
Sorry,
that.
Brad.
So we were like, yeah, sorry, Brad.
You're going to have to wear a blindfold for the next 7 days until we find another giant.
It was fun. We'd sneak up on them, you know, get in there and be like, that's not the one we're looking for, bud. Let's, you know what I mean? Let's get. He's like, trigger off. He's ready. Just say the word. You know, we're like, no, let's pass that one. It's like, oh, damn it. Didn't go in there. We had one that we snuck up on, and I mean, we seen it on the road, so we sneak up in there, and we were just eaten alive by mosquitoes. I can't sit still because those mosquitoes are just
Did you not take a
hammering me.
thermocell?
What's that?
Did you not take a thermocell?
Not on. Well, I had them in the truck, so we'd have them in the truck, but
You should have replaced the bear spray with a thermocell.
yeah. Well, we sat there for a while trying to get that guy to look at him, and he wouldn't come up. We were calling a little bit, and finally we're like, screw this. We go back to the truck, and I just douse. I'm like dousing myself with the mosquito spray. And Colton's like, there's the bear. So as we were walking back to the truck, the bear popped on the road behind us again. You know what I mean? It was like,
oh, geez.
We like gathered up, went back in there, snuck in again to about 25, 30 yards. And it was just like, yeah, no, that's an okay bear, but that's not what we want, a big one. You know what I mean? So we stalked into 30 yards.
We is Buddy and Stuart, not Brad.
Mine is Bradley.
Everybody involved is we except the one killing it.
Exactly. And finally, on the last day, Stuart's like, we probably ought to just shoot one that Bradley's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Let's see what we can find. We might have run our luck out. On after the 4th day, we passed. You know, the 4th night, we passed. It was a good bear. It was a bear that we shot. You know what I mean? Probably. We probably passed little bigger bears than we shot, but not much. But you know, good bears. And that last day, Bradley was starting to feel it. You know what I mean? Because
I'll bet.
he
after the moose
so
hunt.
anyways, so we hike back into this field that we got. We're way back in. 3/4 a mile, whatever. We're back on foot and we hike in there and no bear in there. We seen a bear. We actually passed a bear in there 2 days earlier, and probably the same bear, to be honest with you. And so we sneak back in there and we go in there and there's no bear. It's like, dang it. We seen, there was a sow and 2 cubs in the one spot, and then this other bear in another spot. And long story short, we get back there and we're like, okay, and we're probably down to an hour and a half of the last day. We're starting to be like, we better turn something up for this kid, or else I don't know what's going to happen. But so we're just about to turn around and come back, and we're like, we'll just hang here for a few minutes, and sure as shit, a bear pops out of the timber and walks on the edge, and we're like, shit. And we look at him, we throw up, and it's like, no cubs. We're like, that's our shooter right there. Shoot that bear. So we get Brad set up on a tree, you know what I mean, benched up against a tree right there, and he's on it, and we hear this just a big crash. It's a in the timber, and me and Stuart are both like, that's a big bear. That's a bigger one. So me and Stuart are just, we've already given him the go ahead. You know what I mean? We've already said, shoot that bear. And me and Stuart are frantically looking for that second bear. Like, there's a bigger bear here somewhere. And Bradley wasn't having nothing of it. he was
hey,
like,
Bradley, go ahead.
Pretty much like, just all over, just glass in every corner that. Exactly. Oh, yeah. He just dumped that thing right there. Nice. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll never know what that other bear was. So
it's better,
but all the better. Like I said, but even to the last minute, we were about to veto the go ahead, and I was like, "Oh, go ahead and shoot that one." Wait a minute. We veto. There may be one more here. Something pushed that tree down or that stump down in the timber that we could hear, and but Bradley was not having it. He was happy with the one that we selected. He had the nuclear codes, and he used them.
Bear in the
hand.
He
wasn't waiting for that next bear. He didn't want to see 76.
No.
Yeah. So he did a really good shot. I was proud of him. Everything went good. It was a good bear. I mean, it was like a 6'2". So it was nothing bad about that one. But me and Stuart were definitely trying to top Mr. Colton with this 7-footer. We were trying to shoot another 7-footer for him, and we ran out of time. But it was good, though. I had a good time.
That's good. I'm glad he got to redeem himself. That would have been a rough ride home.
Yeah.
You would have had one mad kid on your hands.
I don't know what I would have done. I might have had I was contemplating how much is a guide going to cost for me to, because Stuart was done. That was the last. He had I don't know how many bear hunters he had taken. They'd killed 28 bears up there, I think, is what it ended up being, somewhere in there.
Holy cow.
And we were the last group. And at the end of the season, it really slowed down a little bit. Like, he had a hard time, which sounds, we still seen 75, so that's not.
It was a slow week.
It was a slow 75.
Yeah.
There was a couple of days that we just didn't see any, or not, one or two. It was really hard hunting. So there was times where we'd see 5 in one field. You know what I mean? So it was kind of. It's hard when you count that many. There's some situations that you see that are just not conducive to hunting. I don't know what I would have done. I might have had to talk Stuart into bringing a guide in to go out Saturday.
You might have. You would have.
Maybe I'd have felt bad.
You would,
especially.
Don't pass the first day what you'd be happy with on the last.
Yeah. So Heath, how was your hunt? You guys
in Canada?
You saw 80.
Yeah, it was good. We no. It's a little harder to come by there, but
8 footers.
We treed 5. Had 2 on the ground. Both of them on the ground ended up getting away from us. One went into a park, which was no man's land. It was hard to get to them, and it got hot extremely. It was hot. It was really hot. It was up in the 80s most of the week, which they said was not normal. So anyway, we had a split race the first morning. Treated a sow, left her. I had 2 young dogs. when I say young, like a year old that had been on a total of like 5 races between the two of them. Pretty sure they had the big bear caught on the ground, but I don't think they knew what to do with it. And by the time we got around, it was 2 hours later. And they were done.
Yeah.
Second day, we had a split race. Ended up taking one of those. Third day, we treated a bunch of coons. Bunch of coons.
On purpose?
No! Some of my dogs had never seen a coon. And listen, Fielder, if you're listening to this, they had to put a hurting on old Fever. They done it Walker style.
Them's fighting words, man.
But yeah, they treed coons that morning. I couldn't get away.
At what point are you? At what point do you realize it's coons? Like at the tree?
Well, yeah, there was no we turned loose in this one area. The bear had been there at 2:00 in the morning. Turned loose, dogs went there and struck, and they caught they were starting one dog was baying, and then they pop up tree. That's typical. I have that's happened. So we got in there, and about halfway into them, the dog comes and meets me halfway, and I'm like, it ain't right. Well, something ain't right here. Well, the other dogs never locked down. Well, we got in there, and it was in a swamp. And when I say a swamp, about, I don't know, probably waist deep, trees and stuff in it. And anyway, I made up my mind. I was like, I'm going to see what they were treed. So I looked at the Garmin and went around the swamp to the backside. And when I could see where they were treed at, sure enough, it was a coon. So I felt like they run the coon right into the water and was swimming, baying it. Right. Is what I, listening to your dogs, not watching the Garmin,
Yep.
I kind of feel like that's what happened. And the next time we walked out of there, and I just left my dogs loose, and they got over about 400 yards away from us and ended up opening. And time we got back to the road, they were treed, which that tells you they didn't have no race there, but they were in the same vicinity, and they had a coon there. And then we went to another place and turned loose. The dogs just started pecking. And they went out, and that was only 2 dogs on that one. They went out and ended up going like half a mile and treeing. And we got in there, and they had a coon. And I'm like, oh man. But we went back and looked at the cameras. The coons were in every place we were at daylight when we were turning them in there.
Oh, so
they were literally running right up on them. So
yeah.
But no, we had a good time. Good people.
Who'd you go with? Because I'll butcher the name.
Who, Ben?
Yeah, their company, because their guide service, and they got trap line and a fur sale.
Yeah, it is Washgat, which means the the beginning.
Super nice people.
Yeah,
I've dealt with them quite a bit.
Sarah is they're very good at what they do. Is as far as the clothing and the stuff they're doing, and
yeah, I
mean using any animal that they take, they're using every bit and piece that can be used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to try to get them to make me some snowmobile covers. Mm-hmm. Like where they see a motorcycle riders have them, or police motorcycle riders where they got those sleeves that go in the handlebars, and so you put them in there and it keeps your hands warm. I was like, man, I was talking to them about that. They go, we don't do those types of things or whatever. For the most part, they just make the mittens and stuff. But I was like, man, those would be really cool to have for my snowmobile. Yeah,
they did make some stuff for somebody running Iditarod. They made some stuff for them.
Really? They do cool stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's good. We took the dogs out one morning with Barry. Ended up running a small one. We seen the track. We had to pull off of it because it crossed the road and was going out of the area. But when it crossed the highway, we had to call him back or whatever. I always tell everybody I'm not real. I don't know that I'll ever shoot another bear. You know what I mean? And if I do shoot one, I think it'll be with dogs. Just just for me, I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna shoot one, I want to do it with dogs. Would be my next bear. I think I don't really have a strong desire to shoot one spot and stock. It was super fun to sneak up on them. Like taking new hunters. I mean, I got Mike last year. Taking my son, like taking somebody to shoot one spot and stock is, dude, that's a kick in the pants trying to stock up on them. Me personally, I like the dogs, and so like I went out. Yeah. Problem was we didn't get to go out. We ended up hunting so damn hard that it kind of wrecked the morning. Trying to get out in the morning to hunt the dogs because we're hunting till 10:30 at night, not getting home till midnight, and you can't get up at 5 and then go hunt dogs and then try to hit it hard as you need to for bears. So I did get up one day early and we went and took the dogs out, but the next morning they killed a bear. Bill's daughter killed a nice 6'10" bear, 6'10" squared. So I think it was Thursday. We were gonna go out and take the dogs out again, but Barry had to skin the bear. You know what I mean? Like we had to do some work to get it prepped up and stuff like that the next morning, so we didn't get the dogs out. And Friday morning, we were totally focused on getting a bear for Bradley, and Barry wasn't in town. So yeah, sounds the dog part of it you see a lot less, but it's definitely a lot funner too. There's a lot of driving around. I was tired of driving around, I'll be honest with you. So, is there anything else? I think I got to get ready. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, make sure to check out Heath's podcast on Wednesdays because he's got some coming up talking about the hunt. I was just going to plug him.
Heath's podcast.
The No Name.
Has that been working good for you, Heath?
Yeah, I know. We're still searching for a name, searching for an identity. I don't have an identity.
I'm going to name it for you here real quick.
I thought you'd given up on that.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I feel like people are pleased with it and what they're getting. So yeah, I'm doing
the charts. All the data looks good. I haven't been able to focus on it a ton lately, but everything looks good. I'm happy with the trajectory.
If you're happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Hey, we're about ready to hit 1.5.
People, it seems like people are listening. We're gathering more.
Oh, sorry. We must have a delay, buddy. I was going to say we're at 1.5 mil. Like, that's a pretty big deal.
Mm.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right on. So I think we covered everything we wanted to talk about, which was the LTE collar that just got released. We have them. I think I got like 5 that we got for the shelves. So we can ship them out right away if that's what you want to get and try. I just want to be clear with people that like we're not going to be able to help you with service and troubleshooting too much on it. It's kind of a product you're going to be on your own. I have a limited amount of experience with them, so I can, basically if you have any questions we haven't answered in here, give us a shout. We can definitely try to answer some questions. I think if you're in an area that has really good cell phone service and you're thinking you're in those field trials and you're having just problems tracking your dogs because of 200, 300 dogs and interference, and you think this is going to fix that, I think it probably could. I think that could be a situation that would be very beneficial for these collars to track in those field trial situations when there's good cell phone service there. If you're hunting in national forest without service on the west, I don't think this is something you should be looking at. I don't think you're going to be happy or satisfied with it. So that would be my take on it. Don't pepper spray or bear spray yourself in the face. If you do, soap first, water second.
Take a shower after the back of the cop car.
Heath prefers the taser over the bear. No, I think it was backwards. I think.
Yeah, man, it's right. I don't like a taser. I don't like it.
And yeah, so that sounds good. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap this one up, and we'll have to do it again.
All right.